Live in New York. No, I'm not in New York. Live from my living room, or my office in the living room. I broke my living. Who cares? Hey, what's up? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and this is The Right Mindset. Today, we are writing a book with me from concept to conception. As always, every Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live video. Saturdays are educational for craft and some business. And every Sunday is The Right with me, from concept to conception. Welcome, what's up? Hello, Cindy. Welcome to the show. As always, we've been going over the process of my writing process, and that's how I've been showing you behind the curtains in real time. If you're new here and have never seen this series, that's what I do. And you can go back to the beginning, because we are on, this is number 33. That's right. This is Right With Me from Concept to Conception, episode 33. So we've done brainstorming brain dumps on the screen. This is not, I talk about it and you don't see anything. You just see this face happening while I type. Now, I show you everything. Everything from the beginning to the end. What's up, Afghani? So, if you go back to the beginning, you'll see how I worked out character arcs, how I developed the short form outline, and how I worked on the extended draft. But now, as everybody who's been following, we are on the zero draft. Not that the window is open and it's cold, but that we are on chapter 16. Now, just for anyone who is new to this series and is wondering, what is Thomas J. Bellezza doing? I am trying to write a book in real time, showing you behind the scenes. What's up, Em? Hey, T, that's a me, Mario. But I've created some parameters for myself. However, we're allowed to break those parameters. And we are using the 27 plot point outline. That means there are 3 acts, 9 sections, 3 plot points per section, which makes 27 plot points. I am trying to make every chapter a full plot point to, keep the book down in word count. However, with all writing, we should not limit ourselves to what we believe it should be, but we should allow the narrative to expand and grow as needed. So I think we have 2 or 3 chapters that have expanded into 2 chapters each. So we're doing pretty good. And we're on chapter 16, which means we are technically in the section 6 of Act 2. This is the last section of Act 2, which is finding a solution. And we're going to try to get chapter 16 done, 17 done, and 18 done, which would be plot point 16, 17, 18. So let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Yeah. By the way, oh, hey, what's up? Are you having a UK summer today? Am I? I don't know. I think it's, yeah, well, it's 77 degrees. Oh, because I have the hat on? Now, I bumped my head. And I have a little, cut myself, and it's very. So I'm covering it with my my hat that I love very much. But it is 77 degrees out, which, by the way, 69 to 77 is like my happiness. Oh my God! Yeah, I know. That's what happens when you're tired, Do you need a nurse? Yes. Don't be shy. Nah. It's not that I'm shy. It's just I would rather the focus be on, not that it is, or as the moment, it is clearly not on, but I would rather the focus be on the writing stuff instead of like, look at that thing. It's just a big bloop, bloop, bloop. And I always keep my hair down privately, so, All right, let's keep it going. So last we left potential chapter title 3. You know what? Let's just have that there, just to have it there. Days later. All right. The bloop bloop. I blooped my hat. I'll tell you that much. Which reminds me, if you haven't, bloop the beard, bloop the like button. All the likes definitely help the channel. As per my investigation of the YouTube exploration, apparently you need interaction. Engagement, interaction, retainer, and your videos and channels will grow. One of the most common, by the way, I'm going to jump right into this, but one of the most common comments I get, if like you watch the videos and you look at the comments, it's like, why don't you have more views? Like it's that, but like, you know, variation. And I always say, basically I suck at titles and thumbnails apparently, because my click-through rate is low, but my retention and my watch time and retention is really high, and my subscriber conversion is high, and then there's another thing that's really high. So like that's good, but no one's clicking through. So, hey, the curse of headbanging. Sir, I headbang in my sleep. I'll just put it there. I wake up headbanging. What's up, bro? And the room. All right. So last we left, the warden comes back after 3 days and speaks with the love interest, talking with them about the evidence they have on him. We did all this last time. We're currently here, but I sort of want to just catch up to where I am. The love interest says that the person they would want is the leader of the gang. He's wanted for XYZ, which, by the way, is a horrible crime, XYZ. Just in general. You never want, you know, ABC is fine, you know, because ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi, ABC, you. Okay. Did I just give you some Jackson 5? What's it going? All right. Lauren Lovins is going to have to get the gang to believe something to get them over, Lauren. All right. I think it ends with the warden says they have to speak with to even consider any situation, but he's probably not going to tell anyone. All right. The leader of the gang over here is still in prison. No, the leader isn't in the prison. The gang leader is not in prison. The unless Laura Olivia is the gang. Now that would be a twist. That's something. That's something to think about, but maybe not for this book. But anyway. All right. Here's a question for everybody in the room. Have you ever read a book? Now, obviously, I know people get inspired by reading or watching something or hearing a story from somebody else or, you know, experiencing them. I understand that part. What I'm asking is, when you read a book or watch a movie or something like that, what is it about said story or thing you're watching that inspires you to approach that subject in a different way? Like, why? You know, what do you find yourself commonly connecting with, you know, resonating with, having an emotional connection with, where you're like, I love these kind of stories, but I think I would love to take this and kind of like shift it around. I would love to know your thoughts on that. The British glam rock. Right. We could delete this. Boop. All right. Okay. Hello, Angel Faye. I'm well, thank you for asking. Yeah. All right, so we got to set this scene. Oh, what's up, Cindy? The emotions that are depicted, or the missing part of POVs. Yeah, right. Like, and obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you're talking like I don't know. Sometimes when I watch a story, or even in real life, like if I see somebody like somewhere, I just think like, what is their life after this moment? This like introduction, this interaction, like. Even in stories or a film, like when a character comes on set and they're just like basically a nobody, they're just like an, you know, exposition, and then they sort of leave, and I'm just like, wonder what their life would be. Like, I want to see their story. I like original concepts. Yes. But the thing is, like, what is really original? And I'll argue that the originality comes from the voice of the author, because like you're seeing the world how you see the world, and you have these emotions to or connected to these things. But like in reality, there are only so many. There's 7 stories. There's only really 14 personalities, and it's like how we represent those things and how we present those things, I think, is where the originality comes from. I've started to create a suspect victim board for my story. That's awesome, Angel. That's awesome. People are going to come into your house and be like, what are you, a crime investigator? You're like, no, 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 you know, and then your browser searching is all, your history is all like, how to bury a body. The missing POV is like romance where one character changes their mind, but it hasn't been developed why they change. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's annoying too. Like when you're like, this is missing a whole like arc. All right. Let's put this here just for now, and then okay. The love interest confirms it. It's because the love interest is. Actually, I'm gonna get into that. Oh wait, what's this? I created it in my Obsidian. That's a pretty. My friend uses that. That's a crazy website. I love it though. I'm saying crazy is a good thing. Guess what? I'm doing that 27 platform outline, and now I'm on PP6, aka Chapter 6. I can't believe that this template has actually helped me. I can believe it's helping you, and I'm grateful that it is helping you, because that's the only reason I do this channel, is to make sure that everybody has some sort of resource or ability to get their stories out. Because art is the soul of existence. All right, the emotional appeal is something I'd enjoy once I picked up the book, but I'd probably not start reading it without the initial hook, which depends on how original the idea is. Afghani, I'd love you to expand on that. Would you say, what is the hook in your mind that makes an idea truly original for you? I'd love to know that. That's an interesting topic. During conferences, CC, when words collide, my sister attended all the mystery ones. I swear, officers, it's all research. The struggles of being a writer, especially a crime writer. All right, a lovely interest is on the video talking with the crew's leader, telling them they need to meet, and that. I think I go back and forth between extended outline to the zero draft. By the way, Cindy, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, whatever your process is, I always say take what you learn and assimilate it and mold it into what you need it to be. Because honestly, you know, it's at the end of the day, you're the writer for your book, and you should find what works for you best. But at the same time, I think that's a great idea, though. You know, you're sort of playing with the zero draft is playing with dialogue and scene beats and the pace of the chapter, and you might realize going back to the extended outline, hey, maybe I could you know, build or expand on this, and you can kind of play with things, and there's nothing wrong with that. If it's working for you, that's definitely the way to go about it. You know, at the end of the day, the only reason I separate the two so completely is that the extended draft is where I'm working out the broader strokes, and then the zero draft is where it's the micro for you know, with the smaller chapters. You know, I'm reading one of Nicole's book. It has a vampire in it. I'm the one who's hooked. Nicole, yes, and that vampire's name is Thomas. And they all love pizza in that story, so that's all I care about. It's a very good series. I helped Nicole outline her newest book in that series. I was very humbled and gracious that I was able to do that because she's an amazing writer as it is. I don't know if it's something I can define. Just an idea that sounds unique. Out of the room. No. No, I get that. Yeah, it's a feeling too. You know, like you'll just hear the right ideas or words put together, and you just be like, I think that's something I'm interested in. It is Tommaso. That'll come back to bite you, Flowers. Bloodsworth. I have a Mrs. Bloodsworth in Angel Story. I think they may be related. They could be related, and I always love stuff like that when you hint. I always seed the stuff to other books that like inspired me or I enjoyed, or I even have friends that have books, and there's like connections to the books. Like I have an instrument called the davalier. It's basically like a guitar, but you know, slightly different. And my friend was like, I want to use it. Can I use I like the davalier. I was like, yeah, sure, you can have a davalier. So that ultimately connects the worlds. Anyway, value on the ship. Let me just confirms it. All right. The gang leader is mad. The gang leader wants to know why they betrayed them. The love interest says that they needed to feel safe since this was be the last one with them and his life. Didn't want to die over it. The gang leader says there's still time, and you might just die, sir. All right. Okay, now we got to get into the next beat. Let's see. All right. Okay, the crew doesn't, the gang, I'm just the gang leader, doesn't believe the love interest. It seems too easy or convenient. Okay. Because they let her, the love interest pulls Laura into the video shot. She's not in prison, but her ship was taken, and we need to meet up, figure out how to get it back. The gang leader believes. All right, what I'm trying to do here, just for everybody on this end, I'm trying to make it not easy. I'm trying to set up basically the context of like, how are you going to get this guy to believe us? But we're also sort of setting up we're misleading them, you know, because the ship is taken, so there is truth to that. But at the same time, we're understanding the motivations behind the love interest. Why did they hide it in the first place? So we're getting some of that stuff in there, you know. Now, obviously, these are just broad general ideas. Remember, when we're writing the zero draft, we're not really worried about specifics. We're not worried about prose. We're not worried about making it pretty. None of that really matters now, and it shouldn't. You know, like, the self-consciousness of this part, it should go out the window, because honestly, it should read clunky and like bland, and just get it straight to the point. The gang leader believes, right? You know, the gang leader says, like, it doesn't, just get it out. Just work on it. It's when we get to the first draft where we're going to start kind of writing out prose. And even then, I wouldn't even put a lot of like hard-earned thought into it. We're like, is this perfect? Is this the best line? Is this the greatest line? Because in reality, it's going to evolve one step at a time. You got to allow each iteration to sort of grow on itself. And right now, this is not about prose. This is about the foundational elements of the plot and beating out the chapter to make sure that the pacing rhythm is clear. All right. All right. Okay, so the gang leader doesn't believe the love interest. It seems too easy or convenient. Convenient. That's something like convenient. Because last they heard, Laura was arrested. Love interest pulls Laura into the video shot. She's not in prison, but her ship was taken, and we need to. Love interest says that it's not. He hid it well and knows right where it is. All right. The item element is on the ship. Okay. All right. They have to go get the ship. To retrieve the item element. Ship. Okay. Let's see. So we're just gonna keep this going, but the love interest is in the pushback from the gang leader, the love interest describes the enemy, and that it is hidden. They're convinced he actually has it. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Laura and the love interest ultimately offer to meet up with them where the ship crashed, since it's been told. All right, and all right, that's gonna be later. From there, they can head out to break the ship from its holding. The gang leader asks where the ship is being held, and the love interest says that's a need to know and will be the guides so you don't kill us or betray us. All right. What's up, everybody? I think we're about to end chapter 16. All right. Okay, so they hang up, and the warden. We just do this. Doot. Says that if this goes well, the deal's off. If this doesn't go well, the deal's off the table, and you're both getting 15 years for this crime. Added on to the rest of it. We'll be right there. So, okay. All right. Basically, what I just did is, this is chapter 16, also in reference to the 27 plot point outline. This would be plot point 16, which is the protagonist reflects on the long-term impacts of the midpoint conflict, which is ultimately the consequences. And because this is the first plot point of section 6, it should also set up the context. So, looking at this chapter, how do we do this? Well, the opening scene is really like, you know, we got evidence. We're going to be able to. You're going to get arrested for that. You're definitely going to be tried for this, etc., etc. It then moves into. So that's the reflection, the long-term impact. All right. So because, you know, what happened? Because Laura got arrested, and the love interest tried to save her. They're both being tried for it now, and it's worse than it is. The stakes have been raised, right? But we're also setting up the context of movement. So they're like, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to basically get the leader and exchange their capture and the crew's capture for our release to prove that Laura is definitely innocent. And then because I'm helping as the love interest, I'm going to be freed as well. So that sets the context for what the action or conflict is going to be in chapter 17, which is also known as plot point 17 in this situation. All right. But more importantly, we have set up a few things, including the stakes. If this doesn't go well, you get 15 years added on. And of course, if it doesn't go well in the sense of the gang leader, they might also try to kill the love interest and Laura. So there's a lot going on. But we have done exactly what plot point 16 needs to do, which is set up context. And because it is the resolution, we're starting section 7 for the resolution, section 6 for the resolution. We have to basically say, all right, well, how are we going to resolve Act 2, which is finding a solution, which is ultimately, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of the prison. We got to get the ship, and we got to get these gang members off our back. So those are the solutions. Those are the things they have to find solutions for, and they are working towards it. All right. I don't know why, but as I'm doing my outline, I like to explain my details. And well, you should, Hannah Hotz. In fact, the outline is for that. Again, I wouldn't go too specific. I wouldn't linger too much on world building and all the little finer details. But whatever you need to explain in the outline to help you, especially the extended outline, to help you understand what the foundational elements of your narrative is, that's always a plus. Because remember, when you're working on this, like right now, I'm working on my the zero drafts, which is what this is, okay? Which means they're not prose or anything, but I'm taking the extended draft, and I need to know what it is without having to think about it. So the more everything you say, everybody's name, you don't leave any. It's not it, he, they, them, right? It's whatever their name is. Just use the name, so you're not connecting things to the wrong people or the wrong situations. Add your notes when and where. So then when you take the extended draft, do that into the zero draft, do more of that, and then when you're ready to write the first draft, now you can deal with subtext. Now you can play with things because you're like, well, I know exactly what it is, so how do I play with that to make it more novelistic, more literature, more interesting. All right, so there we go. Let's see, was this let me see, 247. Boop, boop. I don't know what happened there. Boop. 247. These are my numbers for anyone who's never been here before. I keep track of my numbers. I always keep track of my numbers. All right. 247. All right. And then, what was the second scene? The second scene, let's see how many word count of the second scene. 380. There we go. Boop. All right, now we're on to 17. Let's do it. Boop. Boop. Wrong way. There we go. 17. All right, so 17, also known as plot point 17. This is known as the protagonist decides to take action to resolve the problem created by the midpoint conflict. This is known as trials or tested. They're going to be tested. So basically, if plot point 16, or in our case, chapter 16, set up what is to come, which is they're going to meet up with the gang member to basically spring a trap on them and have the authorities arrest them. Taking action is letting that unfold. So this is going to be all the unfolding of the action. Okay? Okay. All right, let's get to it. So there's 3 scenes. So let's just okay. So a couple of things here before we get into it. These are used to create, so I know when I'm looking at the extended draft, I know that these are movements within the chapter and narrative. They can either be a hard chapter break, a soft chapter break, or they can end up just being the change in rhythm. So sometimes you don't even need the chapter breaks. These beats could most likely just run into each other. They're just moving the chapter along. So that's why I have that there. With that said, I am going to just bloop. Let's see. Just get this in there. Bloop. And then we'll get this in there. Bloop. But I think I'm going to... Alright, next beat. I'm just doing this to have it here just so I can count the word count, but... I don't think I'm gonna have to do a chapter break because they feel like they just kind of move into each other. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. All right. Gonna have to get a sip of juice, sip of my brain juice. Let me know in the comments what's your go-to writing drink. What do you drink while you write other than vodka? All right. All right. So the way this scene is working out is that in the extended draft we sort of just get right into it. So this is that whole medias region where it's like days or whatever it's called, where you're starting in the middle, so you don't have to set up with them getting there. Laura and the love interest are setting up. They're waiting for the gang. You can. It's your narrative. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But when you're trying to keep the word count down and you're trying to keep the narrative moving, it's best to basically go, what is the scene? Where does it really start? So in this case, I think I'm going to continue to use. I'm going to use the extended draft outline to help me with the momentum and the pace, and we're just going to start right with Laura and there, and the gang shows up. We're just getting right to the meat of it, okay? Because remember, there has to be a lot of running around and there's a lot of action. So the less time we spend on the crap we don't need, the better. All right. The gang shows up, approaching Laura and a love interest standing near the crash site. Oh, what do we got there? 2 coffees in the morning, then squash and fizzy water in my thermos cup. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's a nice little healthy something for you there, right there. You got 2 bowel movements, and then you got something nice for your body. It's very good. Very good. I'm an adult. All right. All right. The ship is. All right. Okay. The bloop, bloop. All right. They get into a pissing argument again, asking where the thing is, and they keep arguing, which leads to the shootout. All right. Okay. Basically, the gang leader says that's not going to happen. We're not buying her ship. Her lives spared. Just give us the location of the ship itself. Okay. I'll be starting my first draft from September. What's that say? Went through all my abandoned stories this morning. Way too many. Nothing wrong with way too many. You know, yeah, you gotta always be creating. Spent too much time trying to write rather than plan them, and ran out of steam. Now that happens, especially when it's just information after information. You know, like, it's good to have a plan because you can then kind of people. I'm talking to people on Discord that I joined a Discord group, and like, I write more than one book at a time, right? And they're like, how do you do that? And I go, well, because I have outlines and I understand the outlines, and the outlines go from being very broad general to a little bit more to a little bit more, and then I have my zero drafts, etc. So I always feel like I understand what's going on. Like, I don't have to kind of figure it out. And but when I didn't do that, when I didn't have outlines, when I just would write, or when I would just start working on stuff, I couldn't abandon it to go work on another idea or to do something else. I had to do the whole thing, and I found myself exactly as you're saying, and you run out of steam and interest, and it was killing me to get anything done. I have so many stories that are old that I abandoned. I'm sure I could go back to them. I know I have. There's a story about a character named Shen Mei that I'm interested in kind of exploring again, but now I don't get steamed out or lose interest, because what I do is I'm only doing 30 minutes on this, 30 minutes on that, 30 minutes on, and it just keeps my brain so just in the moment. See, the same issue. Yeah, it's just like, sometimes it's a lot to just work on one thing. And I would say that working in the industry, getting hired to write more than one screenplay at a time, like I'm a workaholic. So if somebody was like, "Can you write this screenplay?" and if I molded with them and I really gelled with them, I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And if someone else came to me and said, I wouldn't be like, "No, I'm already working." No. You know how much money you get paid to write a screenplay? I will work on both of these bad boys, and so forth and so forth. And keep in mind, I was also working on my own stuff. We wrote several full seasons of shows that we were going to pitch and did pitch to studios. And this is before it became like 8-episode series. So we were writing 12, because we did hour long. So we were writing like 12 episodes per season, and they weren't short. They were full 44 minutes to an hour, depending on the platform we were pitching to. Anyway, so you got to learn. You got to learn to be able to, subcompartmentalize, and but that's not. I'm not saying, if you have day jobs and like I've all these, my day job was writing, and is to this day. So like, I have that kind of freedom. So I'm not trying to, please, for the love of God, do not place your scenario into the freedom that I have, the privilege of being able to do what I do. But at the same time, I did have to learn to, how can I abandon things and like spend time and, just so I could get more stuff, Yeah, day jobs, night jobs, and to-do lists at the house. Yeah, exactly. It's not nice, Cindy. It's not. My brother recently was like, "I'm selling everything I own," and I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Cause the less I have, the less I have to clean, the less I have to worry about. I just wanna have my computer, my bed, my dogs, and I just wanna have I wanna shrink my area, because the more stuff you have, the bigger house you have to have, which means the more expensive it is." And he's just like, "How do I get the least amount of stuff? I need clothes, maybe a pair of underwear." And I'm like, I don't think he's too crazy with this. I think I get what he's saying. All right. Except for my crafts, I would like to live in a fifth wheel. I need a second fifth wheel for the crafts. The crafts. That's fair. I'm only thinking about this based on, you're saying fifth wheel. In the States, they say a third wheel. Like if you're on a date and there's like a third person on the date, they're like a third wheel. That's why I'm connecting this story. But I'm polyamorous, so, but like, there's a funny joke, like a meme that goes around where it's like, nowadays you have to be polyamorous just to afford the rent, yeah, I don't mind dating more than one person. You know why? Because we need extra overhead covered. We need another income in this house. You know what? We're dating 4 people now. And I was like, that's kind of funny. Ciao bello, Emma. What's up, everyone? Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to be able to afford it, I think with me, I was told I'd never be able to do it, and at some point it became true. Hello, Emma. Let me get big for this one. That is heartbreaking. And I know you're not the only one and the first one to ever be told that. And I always stand by this. I think I even talked about it yesterday. It's like Plan B should just be another way to approach and succeed at Plan A. And if Plan B fails, you have C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. Because in reality, you only get one life. And if your passion is to do X, Y, and Z, you should be trying to figure out ways to do it, you know? And it's one of the reasons I even wrote my book, The Foundation for Longevity, is because so many people are told, no, have your plan B, become a doctor, have a trade, whatever the case is. And even in fourth grade, I talk about this often, it really dissuaded me. Like I had a passion for writing and I wanted to write as a kid. And they were like, you really should get a trade because you can't spell. And I had dyslexia, but they didn't know what that was when I was in school. And, you know, it took my fifth grade teacher and a whole bunch of other things to really like lead me to feel comfortable writing. But it's just so painful to hear that kind of thing. And even my mom, when I started doing music, she's like, you got to get a job. She'd always say that was her mantra. Get a job, get a job, get a job. And I'm like, this is my job. I make money. And then once she started seeing me very successful, she's like, I'm so glad I supported you. And I was like, okay. Hey, high flowers, waves. All right, let's get back to it. Sorry, that was an aside. I really think that you got to do what you got to do. So even now, I'll say, it doesn't matter how old you are. You want to do something, do it. You know, if you can physically do it, do it. Like, you have your arms and hands, I hope, so right. If you don't, you have to buy the thing where you could use your eyes to spell out things. But it doesn't matter if you're 80, 40, or 30. You know, just do it. Just get started. Even if, like, only you and friends see it. Like, it's part of you. Like, creativity is an art that is more than just making something. It's divinely beautiful in the fact that you're creating something from nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's worth it. Isn't it interesting and sad how the negative sticks with us so much more than the positive? It never seems to end. And I turned 63 this year. Yeah, I agree with that. You know, but I think that's the subconsciousness or the self-consciousness of being an artist and a creative person. It's like, you know, I want people to like my stuff. And it took me a long time to realize it's not about people liking my stuff. It's about people finding like-minded people that appreciate my quote-unquote brand, to put it very like sterile. You know, it's like, I have these beliefs. I physically do these things. I am my truth in action. And who else believes and accepts these things? And you know what? As long as we're all on the same page, the quality of the work, it could vary. Trust me. Like, people are going to support who they believe in. People are going to support what they love. That's why, like, when a kid gives their mother or father a picture in third grade and it's just stick figures, they're like, I'm going to put this on the refrigerator. And that's the reality of even like having a career in a creative format. If you are appreciated, people will support it. And my best example of that, and I know Louis C.K. has the whole thing going on with what he did, but let's just ignore that and talk about before that came out. And Louis C.K.'s material, I've heard similar material to what Louis C.K. was saying on stage from a quote-unquote nobody comedian. And people were like, please get off the stage. They would boo him. When he got off, they're like, you can't do jokes like that. You can't do jokes about the sex. You can't do jokes about like crapping. You can't do these jokes. They're disgusting. But meanwhile, Louis C.K. is doing jokes on that, and his audience, who have at that time appreciated and loved him and followed him around, he's telling jokes about his kid crapping on the floor, and people are like, ah. And because the difference is an emotional connection to something will lead to support. If you don't have an emotional connection to it, it's not going to lead to support. It's that old point of contention where it's like, what's the difference between harassment and flirting? How attractive or emotionally connected you are to the interest of said person. And that's the reality of it when it comes to sales, when it comes to a career. Are people connecting to you emotionally? And, but to the negative positive thing, we sometimes fall into the negative because we think people, we want validation. And in reality, just be true to yourself. Mama, I'm so glad I knitted that stage sweater for you, son. I know it would come in handy. Yeah. She used to tell me to cut my hair all the time, too. Cut your hair! Cut your hair! Cute hat, Thomas. Hey, Cindy. Hello. Thanks, Emma. I booped my head, and I have a wound on my head, and I didn't want it to just be like. So I'm wearing a hat. I'm wearing my cancer survival hat. I tried being polyamorous once, but I forgot to tell. I don't know if that would be polyamorous, but there's a poly joke where basically it's like that, where it goes, I got into a fight with my girlfriend the other day. She says, you're always so much more nicer to your wife. Like, and it's just like, you're like, it's not really a funny joke. It's just it's a point of view. But that's funny. Yeah, and Polly, you have to be honest and open with everybody. Yes, Cindy, I think it's the brain's preverse way of trying to keep you safe. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. All right, I got a couple minutes left. Let's see if we could. Oh, did I just do 17 altogether? Oh, no, I'm still here. All right, the shootout. Okay. The wife gets half. That's why you're nicer to the wife. The wife gets half. Yeah, why do they always get half? All right. Laura and the love interest head after the leader. Okay, all right. There we go. Boom. That's pretty good. 234. Oh, wait. 234. All right. So this is a 126. And we're going to call this the meetup. And then let's call this one the shootout. 53. 53. And then let's call this one the capture. Capture. Was it 55? I think so. Okay. All right. So if you notice, the conversational beat, the opening context scene, is a little thicker. in the zero draft. And the reason is because there's going to be conversation. We got to set the mood, the atmosphere, the tonality, the positions. All right. Then this is 53. So this one and the next one are more action based. So we just want to kind of know what the action beats are, which is the authorities run in. That's a major action beat that is highly important. In the divorce, she gets 75%. Yeah, but that's true. But anyway, so the authorities run in, the love interest, they run for cover. We have the shootout, and then the authorities spread out. So that's the conflict of the chapter. We're seeing it. The stakes are obviously elevating because the authorities are now. There's a major shootout, people trying to survive. Then we want to resolve it, and the resolution is that it's dying down in the sense of the gang leader is trying to get off. There's a couple other crew members. I should have run off without the crew. Okay, and because it's an action beat, it's really not that thick, like it's, when we're writing these scenes, they're going to be physically there, but we just need to make sure that they notice the gang leader running off and the crew going another way. We got to show them running to head after and to try to stop him, right? I'd almost say it, but they can't. So that's just the major plot beats that need to happen in that chapter. So it's not really about going too deep into that. Like, I don't have to sit here and be like, the love interest hand-to-hand fights the leader and Laura ends up jumping on his back. Like, I don't have to worry about that right now. That's something I could explore on my next pass. Because remember, I'm going to finish the zero draft all the way through, and then I'm going to go back and read each zero draft and take notes. And while I'm taking notes, I'm also going to start expanding on the zero draft a little bit more. So this is just the first run of the zero draft before I even get to the first draft. So I need to take those notes. Because if you look at this, see this? Okay. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do the zero draft, which I'm doing now. Then I'm going to organize plot points and elements. This is where I read through it and I take notes and I make sure everything's working on. Then I'm literally going to adjust the zero draft. And then after that, I would traditionally get alpha readers, but we're obviously going to skip that. And then I would do one more revise to the zero draft. So the zero draft basically gets three passes. It gets the first pass, then the second pass with my notes, and then the third pass with the alpha reader's notes. Once that third pass happens, then I jump into writing the prose. And the reason I do that is because the whole point to these steps, is to make sure that the foundation of the plot is connecting to cause and effect, characters are evolving, and things are moving. The prose just kind of blur all that. If it was all prose, I wouldn't be able to see if those things are happening underneath everything. The other advantage of doing this process is that by the time I'm ready to write the first draft, like I said earlier, I now have total control of the subtext. I now understand things. I've been working on it for so long that I know what's going on beneath the page, and now you can play with that, with behavior, with dialogue, even with scene movements. Bear in mind, though, once I get to the first draft, I might learn. So, see, I have to take a break and then do some personal notes. In my personal notes, I might realize, I should take this chapter and split it now, because the prose make it 6,000 words, and you know what? It's feeling a little slowy pace and bogged down, and it just like, let me break that up. I might learn that after doing the first draft. So there's always going to be a process of developing and moving things around. I might even realize I doubt it in this version, because this is literally a straightforward story. Like, it's not too common. There's not a lot going. It's not major politics, and like the epic fantasy, there's multiple POVs and stuff like that. But in this, I'm probably not going to have to move chapters around. I might have to expand chapters, cut chapters up. That's something. But in an epic fantasy or something that has multiple POVs, you might start realizing, it might make more sense to do this chapter earlier, or whatever the case is. That all happens in the first draft. By the second draft, now I'm feeling a little more confident with it, and now I'm just focused on the immersion. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. So we did an hour. We did chapter 16 and we did chapter 17. What's going on here? Boop, boop. Where's chapter 17? Oh, here we go. Did chapter 17. Well, okay, this is where we ended. We ended here. Ended here. There we go. So we know to do that next time. All right. Boom. That was a lot of fun. Other than that, we didn't have a poll this week because I was running late. I didn't have time to write a poll, so I appreciate. I apologize for that. Oh, the cat. Meow. I'm gonna take a sip of this before. By the way, we're in the part that I love the most, which is answering audience questions. Boop. All right. Feel free. I should have had that up the whole time. The feel free part. I created the scroll for that. But anyway, hey, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. This is your time. The floor is yours. I'm here. I'm here for you. And while I'm waiting for questions, I'll go through the hoopla after I take a sip. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So a couple things. If you didn't know, I currently. I'll put this in. I currently have a Patreon. Boop, putting that right there. The Patreon will be featuring an exploration of this book. Everything is done, and it's all being scheduled. So, if you join the Patreon, you click on that link. Maybe not right this second, but if you click on that link, it'll take you there. There is a free. You could just follow along and just be a part of it and get some of the little things. But if you're interested in the tier that will become that book, it will show you everything from the short form, the extended, the zero draft, the first draft, and the draft before the polish, which is basically the third draft, fourth draft. So you get to kind of see that unfold. So you get the whole book and you get to see how I made choices. And it's educational because I will have notes within the posts as well that explain sort of like my brain and how I was thinking about doing things. And there are assignments within the posts as well. The further you get, the more in detail the assignments are. So that's a lot of fun. So Patreon I'm trying to grow that channel. All right. And I miscounted my chapters last night, and I do have 27 chapters, for I missed the 6th lie and the truth. That's great. It's great. More chapters, better. Because remember, chapters aren't necessarily dedicated to how many words go into. Chapters help create pace, movement, allow us to sit in moments. You got to use it as part of the narrative. How long do you review your plot before adding to it? You said you give yourself 30 minutes each day. Do you review the previous plot point to remind you where you are in the story? If I step away from the book for a while, then yes, I will probably just reread up to the point where I stopped. If I'm doing 30 minutes a day, I don't, because I could just sit back there. Like this, it takes me a week to get back to it, and occasionally I'll just read the couple lines beforehand. And the reason is, and I'll just put it on the screen so you can see it again. The reason is, as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just telling me what needs to happen, If I were you, and you're going to be away from it for a while, there's nothing wrong with sort of writing like a, summary, right? Summary, and then just having like whatever happened in the previous chapter or whatever the case is. In fact, I have a file for each book I write where I summarize the chapters. So I could technically, if I ever feel like what's going on with this book, I could technically just go to that file and just read what the summary of the chapter is. I don't really do that. I just have it because it's like one of those safety nets. It's sort of like when I used to do music, I had my lyrics. But if I didn't bring my lyrics, I would forget the lyrics, if that made sense. But if I had them in like a notebook, I would remember the words. So it's sort of like a safety net in a sense. But how long do you review your plot before adding to it? So honestly, how I do this is how I do it. When I sit down, I get to it, I look at the notes, and I start building on it. When we get to the questions part, what you're going to notice is I'm going to read the zero draft, and I'm going to take notes, and that sheet I have is just going to be filled with notes organized by the chapter itself. And then when I get back to adding to the chapters, I just look at the notes and I go, oh, I got to add this. And then it's just a matter of reading through and putting it in. I try not to put a lot of time into like reviewing what I have done, unless because I've been gone for a while. I hope that answers your question. With that said, please keep giving. Please, if you have more questions, go on. I'm just gonna keep doing my spiel while we're waiting. By the way, the book is available. I am doing very well with sales, but you know, I could always do better. For anyone that doesn't know, by the way, if you haven't, I put it in the comment section. If you haven't already, and if you have purchased the book, and you've read a little bit of it, and you feel confident enough to write a review, please put a review on the Amazon if you can. If you're not ready for a review, that's also okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, if you're on Goodreads, feel free to just copy and paste the same review. It would be extremely helpful. Oh, we got another. M says, in answer to your question, I like to drink black currant and Coke. Oh, Bacardi. What is that? Pernod? Pernod? Is that a Pernod? Pernod? Am I saying that terribly wrong? Pernod. How do you say that? Pernod. Let's see.
Perno.
Pernod. Oh, wait. I had that in Italian. 1 second. Perno. Pernod. Oh, Pernod. All right. I could be saying that right. Pernod, black currant, and Coke. It's my marijuana in a glass. Hey, sometimes that's what you need, you know? What else? I did 1,500 words yesterday. Last night, 1,500 words on this book. I am flying through it. I forget, what chapter am I on? I'm getting there. I think I'm on chapter 19. Let me see. Let me look. No, I'm still on chapter 18. I'm on chapter 18. But I'm having fun writing that book. You have no idea. I'm just loving it. I'm breaking it down. It's just, it's very nice. And just to be fair, the book is not written like academic, where it's like, you know, reading a textbook. It's written with a little personality. There's some humor in it. I use layman's terms for a lot of stuff, though I do mention terminology, but I'm writing it in a way that allows it so if you're not too familiar with the terminology of things, there's also enough information where it explains the whys and the whats and the whens and the wheres and the purpose of even writing, you know, what goes into that plot point. But I will say this much. The book is more than just going over the plot points. So it talks about different purposes of a prologue and an epilogue. I also talk about how to write a strong narrative using the outlining process. I talk about how to start with characters and how to outline character arcs. And then I go over short form outlining and extended outlining within the book. And of course, I give some examples. There are examples in it. I talk about chapter pacing in the book and how long should a chapter be. I talk about that. And when to cut, which is by far the most important rule for a writer, because we sometimes get nervous. Should I cut? Would I cut? Could I cut? And the truth is you should cut when you can cut. And then there will also be some chapters on revising your outline. And then there's information on outlining specific genres. Then there are smaller chapters near the end of the book that go over industry standards, and obviously some final thoughts and ways to utilize the 27 plot point outline and to look at your narratively different. So after it explains the whole 27 plot point and outlining and stuff like that, the book has, near the end of the book, it says these are ways you can kind of manipulate the 27 plot point outline and use it to your advantage. So there you go. Without the Coke, yes, a very 80s drink. Yum, 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 yum. Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Anyway, I'm really excited about this book, and at the rate I'm going, I think I could be done before the Christmas. I'd like to be done before the Christmas, but I'm not. If it takes me until next year, whatever, you know. Anyway, any more questions? Any more questions? Do I have other things? Do I have other stuff I have to say? Let's see. Let's see. I did that. I blooped it. Remember the Raymond? Check out the website if you want to find where I'm at, where I teach, if you want to support me. But remember, supporting me means you also get educational stuff. It's never just support. It's I give back. And also, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out if you have not yet subscribed for this channel. Every subscription, every like, every comment, every share of a video, and every time you watch a full video through, it helps this channel grow, and it helps support me, and it pays some bills, so I could just do this. The Coke just made it last longer in the nightclubs, and it stuck with me. I don't know why I said it as a pirate. I'm a pirate, eh? Wait, you know what I understand? Why do pirates in pirate movies always sound like this? But they're Caribbean. I don't know about you, but like, I have a friend, and I'm sure you've seen it on the internet, like TikTok and stuff like that. But I have a friend who is a pale, and they were born and raised in Haiti, and then moved to America, and like they were in school. And they had a Haitian accent. So, why would pirates have this accent? But they're like from the Caribbean. However, I guess because the British rule and the Spanish rule and those elements, they came in. Maybe I just answered the question myself. Anyway, problem was still Brahms and Liszt. I guess that's German. That's Deutsch. At work the next day. That's funny. Sometimes you need the drink at work. Because to me, they sound right Cockney. They do sound right Cockney. That's a terrible Cockney. I'm trying to do Michael Caine. Michael Caine and his Cockney. You have to... Never mind. They'd be hard to push to get the ship down the Thames. Well, that's fair. Now, is it true that you can't trust the Cockney accent just as much as you can't trust the people from Napolis? You know? The Napolis Italianos. My father used to say, you can't trust the people from Napolis. They're all thieves and murderers because they live in the mountains. You gotta remember, I was Sicilian. But I do have some connections to Napoleon, the Napoleons. Because like a family grows and expands, and you have people. I even have Irish in my family. Not that I have Irish in me, but they're Irish people. And everything. We have everything. We have Japanese people in our family. Our family became more and more diverse over time, so it's just interesting. But my father used to always say, you can't trust the Napoleons. I'm like, Dad, don't you have Napoleons in your family? And he's like, yeah, you can't trust them. Have you seen Only Fools and Horses? I don't know, have I? Only Fools and Horses. Oh, hey! Nicholas Lindenhurst. I know what that is. Put that in the checkout. Let's see. Let's put this right here. To watch later. Take a little look-see at that. Boop. Okay. By the way, excellent recommendations are always thrown my way. That may be because they came from the... That's what I was saying. Yeah, I kind of... I was like, maybe that's... There's a lot of Cockney in there. Lot of Cockney. Here's a question for my British friends out there. My Great Britain friends. I love language in itself. Language. In school... do they, because like in school in America, in the States, they have the option to learn like Latin, but obviously we study Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, and then like the Old English. But in England, in Britain, do they go deeper and further than Shakespeare and work on like the language that is so different from what we speak today with the British English and the States English, where it was like words were just like you know, like it had that more feel to it. I'm wondering about that because I like that in the States we had the option for Latin, we had the option to study Shakespeare in the older language. I just always wondered about them. Because, you know, schools are different everywhere. Because I know my friend from Norway, they're like, yeah, you learn like 5 languages before you finish high school, before you finish school. Thomas, have you ever listened to the band L7? I think I have. My brain is just like, I need a visual. L7. I have not. I don't. This band doesn't look familiar to me. L7. I did not. No. Okay, I thought I was on Papa 6. It was plot point 5. Now I am on PP6. Excellent. You're on PP6, which is, for anyone who's listening, Act 1, Section 2, the immediate consequences of the action taken by the protagonist. All right. Gotta go. Have to get the shed in order, and that means building shelves. See you next week. Cindy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Much love to you. Have a great time, and remember to be productive, but don't work too hard. Fools and horses, Thomas. Be prepared to laugh your socks off. M and both flowers. I put it on my to-watch list. My favorite is the blow-up dolls. You had me at blow-up dolls. and the Dove Falls. Nice. I have to watch British humor stuff by myself because anyone I watch it, which they always say the same thing. It's too dry. The humor's dry. It's dry humor, and I'm like, it's perfect. Not that Monty Python is the be-all, end-all of everything that is British humor, but you know, I grew up on Monty Python, and you know, I got my silly walks. That's all I'm saying. You know, Ministry of Silly Walks has got my card. Yes, that one too. What is it? 3 o'clock. We did pretty good today. Is there anything else? Let's see. That's it. We don't have a poll. I feel bad we don't have a poll. Boop. All right, everyone. I think we're gonna call it an easy day today because you know, I'm a little tired. Hannah Hart says, I wanted to expand my Foxglove Court in a few chapters, so plot point 6 is where my story really begins. Don't know if that's okay. I could give you a general answer because I have to read over the text to really give a deeper answer, but the story should really begin at the beginning. Like, if a story needs 2 or 3 chapters before it's like, now you're going to enjoy it, that might be an issue. You need to let chapter 1, the first, PP1, yeah, exactly. It should start in PP1. You want the hook and these characters to be interesting enough where you're like, I need to know more, but not telling enough where you're like, that's too much. A good rule of thumb is vague, but informative. Vague means vague enough where it leaves you with questions, but inform enough where it answers enough questions for you to understand what's going on, because context. Without context, there is no narrative. That's too confusing, so you have to... Yes, go and rest the poorly head. Yeah, I am nursing a headache. I did Latin at school. I hated it. 5 years of dead language. Nearly became a mortician. That's funny. Claris Occulus the Spes, right? Or what is it? Dies de Tenebra Nos Quim Noctus Mius. I don't know. That's as much as I remember. All right. I can't spell mortician. That's all right. I can't spell either. Remember, great writers have great editors. I used to be self-conscious about my writing, and then I realized, there's spell check, and there's people that you pay for editing. But spelling was because of dyslexia. People were like, hey, if you can't spell, you can't be a writer, and that's not true. Buy Thomas's stuff. Thank you, bro. Links in the descriptions. Buy Thomas's stuff. He's great. Needs blooped. I mean, at my age, my bloop does need to be blooped. Hey, Kudri. Sorry. Right mindset dude. Thank you so much for teaching us. I'm writing a book, and it's just recently getting fun and interesting. Woohoo! Everyone, let's shout out congratulations. That's amazing. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm glad you're writing a book. And more importantly, thank you for the compassion and the love. Trust me, it is a delight, and I am honored and humbled to be the voice of teachery to you and everyone else that watches this channel. So thank you for just giving me your time and your ear. As they say in Robin Hood Menatites, lend me your ears! Because, you know, this is what I love doing. I love teaching. I love showing. So much love to you. Much love to you. I can. Oh, I can. My veiled dream curse begins in when my main female character, Fairy Glove, and main male character, Fairy, are infants. Well, that's fair, but remember, PP1, The Ordinary World, should be interesting enough to be what drives people to read to get to PP2. See you later, rest your bruise, bounce. Hey, bump. My lovely bonnet. M, thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. I'll see you next week. Sapapati is where they grow up. That's good that they grew up there. Maybe. You just gotta rework some of the stuff. Congrats to Kudri. Yeah. Lend me your ears, cause I need something to hold my specs on with. That's disgusting. Oh yeah, don't forget to buy. Thank you. And congrats, Kudri. I hope I'm saying that right. I really feel bad if I'm not. And please, again, my poor reading. It's not a reflection of my feelings. All right, they're in a grove being protected by the kuss. Remember, pacing is all about the speed at which information is presented to the reader. So if it's really slow pace for 4 chapters just to explain backstory, you may have to break that up. But again, I haven't read your stuff, so I don't know. I have to look at it to give you full advice. But with that said, this Bonnie Lass, I don't know what that means. I just hear it on Outlander all the time. This Bonnie Lass must go. I'm going to go take more ass burns. All right, everybody. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. As always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.